Hello everybody and welcome to the final video of FM20, taking a little break after this video is done and up. Taking a little break until the beta comes out, just focus on a few other things in my life. Also Assassin's Creed is coming out on the 10th, so I want to play that game a little bit before of course we continue with the videos for FM21. But that being said, let's get into the video. And today we've taken over AC Milan and we're doing an AC Milan plus Italy experiment. So they only got Italian players from everywhere in the world. Got Chiellini here, down here, Locatelli. Of course, we got Bonucci there as well. Emerson, Immobile, Caputo, Acerbi, Verratti, of course. Donnarumma, both the Donnarummas are here. Politano, Bernardeschi, Mancini, Sensi, Barella, Meret, Chiesa, Pellegrini, Zaniolo, Moise Kean, Tonali. You name it. If he's Italian, he's probably in this squad. And they're gonna try and reconquer the world as they did in the 2000s. Am I correct in that? No, just a little bit before that. But, well, let's say the 90s. That's where they were at the height of their power. So let's try and bring them back. And to know if they will succeed in that first season, we will now go ahead and go towards the end of the first season. And here we are at the end of the first season. You can already see that Meret is on goal and not Donnarumma. And yeah, let's have a quick look at the schedule, how they've done. Won a few friendlies, and they started off the Serie A with a victory. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 victories in a row before they were beaten by Atalanta very late doors. That's a shame. And then they beat Spal, Lech, Genoa, and then they were beaten by Lazio 2-0. That's a shame. They drew with Juventus. They beat neighbors, not Lautaro Martinez, but Inter Milan. Then they beat Pescara. Napoli was beaten. Lech was beaten in the first round of the Italian Cup. They went on to win against Cagliari, Verona, and then they were beaten by Fiorentina 1-0. They beat Napoli in the quarterfinal of the Italian Cup. They beat Bologna. They drew with Sampdoria. They lost then to Inter in the Italian Cup semi-final first leg, so they might go through. They were beaten by Roma. They beat Torino 2-1. Lost to Andernese, and then they drew 3-3 with Inter, unfortunately, so they didn't go through in the Italian Cup, so maybe next year. They beat Parma, they beat Sassuolo, they drew with Atalanta, lost to Spal, unfortunately. Beat Lech, lost to Genoa, beat Lazio, beat Zebra or Juventus, then drew with Inter, beat Pescara, beat Napoli, and last but not least, they lost on the final day due to 2 late goals by João Pedro from Cagliari, but that does leave them first in the Italian Serie A on 82 points, followed by Lazio, Zebra, Napoli, and Inter Milan. Pretty good. Roma disappointing 8th. That's a shame. Anything else we can see down here? No, there will be. Yeah, they were knocked out. So, but they will be in the Champions League next season, so that's exciting to see. And yeah, let's go towards the start of season number 2. Second season is on the way. Let's have a quick look at the transfers that they've made. They sold for 204 million. Are you kidding me? Let's see. Bernardeschi was sold to PSG for almost 47 million. Jorginho was sold to Liverpool. Sensi was sold to Bayern Munich. Emerson sold to Lazio. Brian Cristante to Dortmund. Bonucci went to PSG as well. Locatelli was sold to Torino. Calabria went to Roma. Briaghi and Caldera went to Lille. And the rest is not important enough. They had a few people out on loan. Tonali, Bastoni, Michaelis, Mikonic, Borges, Moise Kean, Gabia, Roberto Gagliardini, Bonaventura went on a free to Roma, and Olzer went to Livorno under 20s, and Brambilla went to Genoa under 20s as well on free transfers. And they got loaned up for some reason, not sure why, but let's have a quick look. No, we're not going to have a quick look. We're going to fast forward towards the end of the season and see how they've done. And here we are. End of season number 2 is here. And the first in the Serie A again. I think they got more points than last season. Yeah, 2 more points. Whoa! And Inter second. Zebra still third, but who cares about those clubs? We're here for AC Milan. Quick look at the competitions first. Won the Friendly Cup, we don't care. Well, of course, won the Serie A. They had a big drop down here, went to 13th, 4th, as low as 14th, and then a steady climb back up, and then into first, and then probably lost the game, dropped down to 4th, went back up, and then had a small dip down here on a quarter on the way, just a quarter away from the end of the season, and then they remained first. They also won the Italian Cup and the Italian Super Cup. They were runners up, and I don't know why they're not in Champions League football. Maybe something was wrong with their finances and they had a banner or something like that, but they were first last year, so they should have won. But they started out this season with a win against Lazio, and then they lost 2 in a row against Atalanta, Zebra, and then they drew with Napoli, and then they were on a streak again, winning streak of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games before they lost 2-0 against Roma, and then they were back on a win against Inter, Torino, Udinese, Empoli, drew with Verona, beat Spal, and then they lost to Parma again last year as well. They beat Sassuolo, they beat Sampdoria in a friendly, don't care. Lazio was beaten, and then they beat Sassuolo 4-0 in the first round of the Italian Cup. Lost 1-0 to Inter in the Super Cup final, unfortunate. They beat Atalanta, beat Zebra again, beat Inter that time in the quarterfinals of the Italian Cup. They drew with Napoli, beat Atalanta in the first leg of the semi-finals of the Italian Cup, beat Ascoli in the Serie A, and then they lost 2-1 against Atalanta, but it didn't really matter because they were 2-0 up, so they were through, meaning they were in the finals, as we already know. Then they beat Calabria, they beat Fiorentina, they lost to Bologna surprisingly, beat Sampdoria, beat Benevento, they beat Roma as well, lost 2-1 to Inter, and then they beat Torino, drew with Udinese, and then they lost on penalties. In the Italian Cup, 2 really close goals. Minute 77, Napoli scored, and then Jesus scored in minute 79 for Milan. And then Verona came along, and they drew 4-4, unfortunate. Beat Empoli 5-0, pretty good. Beat Spal 3-0, then drew with Parma, beat Sassuolo, and that was it for that season. Transfer-wise, I think they sold a few more players. Yeah, they sold Andrea Bellotti for 97 million to Chelsea. Then Brasile went as well. Same goes for Di Lorenzo. Really unfortunate because those are pretty good players. Donnarumma went for 26 million to Hertha Berlin. Are you joking me? That's a joke. They did, however, bring in Gabriel Jesus from, of course, Manchester City for 76 million. They brought in Paulinho, Danny Cabralos, Lucas Moura, and Alex Salamakers. I think that's how you pronounce it. Anything else interesting? No, not really. Let's go towards the start of season number 3. Maybe they will qualify for Champions League football this time. Alright, the start of season number 3 is ahead of us. And we're going to have a quick look at the competitions first because, thank the Lords, they are in the Champions League this time. Yes, and let's see at the end of the season how they do. First, a quick look at the transfer history. They brought in 53 million. Any notorious players coming in? No, not really. don't really have a clue who those are, but they did sell a few good players. First of all, the Siglio is gone, and gone as well is Marco Verratti, went for 87 million to Real Madrid, and that's an insane amount of money. Also, my eye spot now that Gianluca Mancini went to PSG for 51 million. That's insane. He is good, but is he worth 51 million? Let me know down in the comments below if you think he's worth that, or if you disagree with PSG. But we're now going to go ahead, go towards the end of season number 3 and see how they do. And here we are, and I think, as you can all see, that we're now 4th in Serie A. So we didn't win it this time. Big surprise. Napoli won it, 58 points. We were down here, 81. So not that far below, just 4 points below it. Only goal difference of 27, that's a bit low. But still, quarterfinals apparently of the Europa League, or the Champions League, sorry. Didn't win the semi, didn't win the semi, well, we didn't win the semi-finals, but we didn't win the Italian Cup. Well, we did win the Italian Super Cup, so we got at least got a trophy this year. Transfers, anything else interesting? No, not really. Anything else interested? Who went? Paulinho went on a loan. Gabbia went to... No, not really that important, I think. After Ferrari, not a lot of people. Andrea Conti went to Shakhtar, but that's about it. So not really that interesting. Schedule-wise, big schedule. So, started off with a draw against Lazio, then beat Sassuolo, and they beat Ascoli as well. Were beaten by Liverpool in the Champions League. They beat Brescia, Atalanta, Parma, and then Zenit in the Champions League. They drew with Fiorentina, lost to Zebra, beat Copenhagen in the Champions League, drew with Monza, lost to Napoli, beat Copenhagen again. Then they lost to Roma, they drew with Inter, they drew with Liverpool, beat Cagliari, beat Verona, beat Zenit in the Champions League, beat Bologna, beat Spal. Udinese was beaten, Cittadella was beaten as well, Sampdoria was beaten, Fiorentina was beaten, Napoli was beaten in the Super Cup final, and then Lazio was beaten. Sassuolo they beat Lazio in the Italian Cup quarterfinal, beat Ascoli, beat Brescia, then lost to Inter Milan in the Italian Cup semi-final, first leg 1-0. They beat Atalanta, they beat Parma, beat Manchester City, surprisingly, really good, well done by them, in the first knockout round. Then they beat Fiorentina, they lost 1-0 again in the Italian Cup, second leg of the quarterfinals. Then they lost to Zebra as well, drew with Monza, and then they lost 3-2 against Manchester City, but they went through on away goals, so that was their luck. And then they lost as well to Napoli. They drew with Roma, they lost to Bayern Munich in the Champions League quarterfinal first leg, and then they drew with Inter. Then they beat Bayern Munich in the return, but it wasn't enough to get them through, so they were knocked out of the Champions League. Then they drew with Cagliari. No, they didn't drew with Cagliari, they beat Cagliari. Then they beat Udinese, they beat Verona, beat Bologna, beat Spal, beat Cittadella, beat Sampdoria, and then they were friendly, but they ended on a win. That's positive. And let me see, they are playing Champions League again next season, so we'll see how they do next season. So let's go towards the start of the last season, season number 4. And here we are at the start of the last season. Quick look at transfers. Sold for 56 million, bought for 55, so they had a million profit, that's okay. Notorious names are Cabralos, Matteo Politano went as well, and Spinazzola went as well, went to Moscow. Right, competitions they play in this year are Champions League, Italian Cup, and Serie A. No Super Cup this year because we didn't win the Italian Cup or the Serie A. So let's go towards the end of the season and see how they can do in the final season that we're here And they've done it again. They won Serie A back, ending it on 85 points, goal difference of 35, losing 5 games, drawing 7 games. I can live with that. But more important, let's see how they done overall. Knocked out in the quarterfinals again, and then they were knocked out in the semi-final of the Italian Cup. So that's unfortunate, but at least they did win Serie A. Transfers now brought in for 186 million, and they sold for 209. And have a quick look at who went. I don't know who the hell you are, but Sandro Tonali went to Manchester City for 145 million. Roberto Gagliardini went to Atalanta for 7.25 million, and I think that's about it. Who we know. Players they brought in. Anyone we know? Yeah, probably know Lobotka from Shakhtar. He starts out at Napoli, of course, or Vigo. So Celta de Vigo, depends on who you're starting with, with what database. Wilmar Barrios from Boca, that's where he starts off, then went to Zenit, and now at Milan. Anyone else? Marcos Antonio from Shakhtar, and Mohamed Fares starts out in Italy, actually at Spal, and then was brought back. Daniel Rugini is in there as well. Same goes for Badiashile from originally, I believe, Monaco. Big talent in this game, of course. But let's have a look for the final time at the schedule. Started out by beating Bologna, beating Napoli, beating Zebra, drawing with Lazio, beating Atalanta, beating Genoa, beating Ascoli, beating Porto in the Champions League, beating Verona, drawing with Real Madrid, then beating Empoli. They lost to Copenhagen, that's just a big surprise. And then they also lost to Cittadella, also a big surprise. Drew with Cagliari, beat Copenhagen that time. Then they beat Udinese, drew with Porto, lost to Roma, lost 4-1 to Real Madrid, that's a biggie. Also, they only had 1 game in November. That's because of this weird thing that happens during this season because of the World Cup, I believe. And then we got a few friendlies. We don't care. Then they've got the Serie A again, beating Brescia, beating Sampdoria, going through on penalties against Atalanta, drawing with Inter, beating Entella, losing against Parma, beating Bologna in the quarterfinals of the Italian Cup. They beat Fiorentina. They lost 1-0 to Inter in the Italian semi-final first leg. Beat Bologna. Were beaten again by Inter in the Italian Cup semi-final. Again 1-0. So they need to step that up. Then they were beaten 3-0 by Napoli. Beating Atletico Madrid in the first knockout round 2-0. Then beating Zebra. Drawing with Lazio, beating Atalanta, then losing 2-1 to Real Madrid, but it doesn't really matter because they go through on aggregate. Then they were beaten, but they beat Genoa, beat Ascoli, beat Verona, beat Empoli, lost 3-2 to Real Madrid in the quarterfinal first leg, drew 1-1, and then they drew 1-1 against Real Madrid again. So that's really unfortunate. They don't go through. On aggregate, they lost 4-3. Really unfortunate. Then they drew with Calabria. They beat Udinese. They beat Roma. Beat Brescia. Beat Sampdoria. Drew with Inter. Beat Entella. And on the final 2 games, they first beat Parma and then they lost 1-0 to Fiorentina. So AC Milan, just buy all the Italian players you can from your national squad and you'll probably win the league. It's just as easy as that. You do need a little bit amount of money to do so, but I think you'll manage. Now got, for the first time in 4 years, they won the league 3 times, so that's pretty good. Unfortunately, no European Cups or so ever. They got one Italian Cup and one Italian Super Cup, so they can do better than that, but of course we don't really matter, doesn't really matter. Anyways, thank you all for watching. If you've liked this video, leave a like below and hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you guys when FM21 comes out. See ya!